Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're looking at the Sturm Ruger Model 57. Now first off, I need to put a call out to Brandon over at the Gunroom in Shenandoah. He actually bought this for sale in his inventory, and when I walked into his little shop there, I saw that and I said, I got to test that. So he said, you go ahead and test it. So he bought this pistol, let me test it, and then he's gonna put it back up for sale again. But he does a lot of that for us, so I really appreciate that. Well, before we really get into the Ruger pistol, I want to talk a little bit about the cartridge, the 5.7x28. Now, this started off as a NATO trial many years ago. NATO was looking for a personal defense weapon that would replace both the 9mm pistol and the 9mm submachine gun, and it had to have offered both a rifle or carbine and a pistol in both calibers. There were two entries. First was out of Belgium, the 5.7x28, and the next one was HK in Germany with the 4.6x30mm cartridge. Now, after the tests were all said and done, the declared winner was the FN 5.7x28. However, H&K wasn't really happy with that, so they challenged it. And throughout the entire challenging process, the project was canceled. So the actual NATO trials for a NATO pistol and a NATO submachine gun, personal defense weapon, was pretty much done with. Well, the FN continued on with the program, and they offered it to international customers and even commercial customers. The pistol, which we're going to be talking about the most, was the FN 5.7. Now, the FN 5.7, up until the release of the Ruger-57, the Ruger-57, up until that point, was the only handgun available chambered in this caliber. For as far as the PDWs, you had the FN P90, which was both a submachine gun SBR as well as there was a 16-inch carbine version. And as time went on, you saw some ARs chambered in it. For instance, the CMG Banshee in 5.7. There was an upper receiver that was a drop-in for an AR that took the 5.7 cartridge also. The cartridge never really gained a lot of popularity. I think for the most part, it was more of a novelty. It certainly did see military contracts. There's been some very interesting information coming out. Many people on the internet have claimed that this is a 5.7 is a glorified 22 Magnum. I have to say a 5-inch barrel 22 Magnum and a 5-inch 5.7, there's very little difference whatsoever between the two of them. Military Arms Channel did a video. It was the 5.7x28 versus the 22 Magnum, and he did several interesting tests which really validated things that I've been saying all along. When you compare the two guns, 5.7x28 and 22 Magnum, in its pistol variation using commercial off-the-shelf ammunition, meaning non-AP ammunition, there's very little difference in its performance. Very little. He shot through a threat level 2 bulletproof vest, and all the commercial ammunition in both 5.7 and in 22 Magnum did not penetrate. However, when you get the law enforcement only, more of an AP type round, the pistol went right through the threat level 2 vest and then about 4 inches into the gel. And the wounding in the gel was less than stellar because, again, once you get through that armor, there isn't much left. And you already have a small bullet to begin with. You lose a lot of velocity. However, if you want to put that in a 10.5-inch PDW or SBR, that extra 5 inches, 5.5 inches boosts up your velocity a lot. So basically, all of your rounds that we see here, both the 27 grain standard lead-free, the law enforcement only, as well as the federal American Eagle, those all blew through the vest, regardless of what the construction of the bullet were, and that makes a major difference. But when you're talking about pistols, this is where we discuss, whether it's a suitable, personal defense cartridge. When we look here, we see a 22 Winchester Magnum. This is about a 30 grain or so full metal jacket. Then, of course, we have the Federal American Eagle and the 5.7x28, which is a 40 grain full metal jacket. And here we have a 9mm. This happens to be one of the 124 grain, the new Hydroshock, the new deep penetrator Hydroshock. Now, as far as a personal defense round, they're all suitable. I agree with what Tim said about that. Anything is suitable. They do, as long as you're using a proper type ammunition, more of an AMAX or VMAX type projectile, definitely don't want to really use a full metal jacket. But for me, these two I would not use as a self-defense gun. I would be going with a 9mm. That'd probably be the minimum I would go to, maybe a 380. So for a personal protection cartridge, using commercial ammunition, I don't really think that there's that much of a benefit at all in a pistol of going with the more expensive 5.7x28 over the 22 Magnum, especially considering you only had 2 pistols that are available, and of course you do have some of the other guns, longer guns. Now, for as far as personal defense weapons or SBRs, 10-inch barrels or 16-inch barrels, that's a whole different ballgame. Your velocities are getting up there enough where you are able to do some decent terminal performance, and you're able to get your decent penetration. For as far as the pistol is concerned, it's very similar to that of the 5.45x18 pistol was used by the Soviets as for executive security. It was a round that did go through the body armor, but once it got through, you're looking at a couple inches it would penetrate through, or 4 inches it would penetrate and go through. It wouldn't have enough on it, and the bullet wouldn't deform enough to cause a lot of damage. So I view this cartridge as much more of a novelty in a pistol configuration. Again, you certainly could use it for self-defense, but it's not certainly one of them that I would recommend. Now, when you look at the original 5.7 pistol that was put out by FN, you look at some of the characteristics. Of course, it was a semi-auto. You had an overall length of 8.2 inches, a height of 5.4 inches. The barrel was what was really nice in that because it was a cold hammer forged barrel that was chrome-plated 4.8 inches with a 1 9-inch twist. The frame, on the other hand, was a polymer frame, which obviously was for lightweight with a 1913 rail. One of the things I didn't really particularly care about that was the way that the safety was located in front of the trigger. I didn't particularly care for that. And the magazine was 20 rounds, but it was a polymer magazine. And this was the real kicker, was the MSRP of $1,379. So Ruger saw that there was an opportunity to make a pistol that nobody else did that was affordable. So obviously, if you wanted a gun in this caliber, you're looking at $1,400. So they decided they were going to make their own pistol, but they were going to do it for about half the cost. So they're looking at around $800 MSRP. And of course, you can find them in the wild a little bit cheaper than that. And they made several changes. Now, I definitely have to say that the overall feel of this pistol, I like much better than the FN. In fact, I pretty much like everything better about it. I think the only real benefit that the FN has over this one was, number one, is the barrel. The barrel is an alloy steel, black nitride finish, 1 9-inch twist. Certainly a suitable barrel. However, you're not really going to beat a cold hammer forged barrel. And of course, it has a lot to do with your cost, too. That's going to bring your cost up to have the cold hammer forged barrel, plus the chrome plating. Chrome plating is something that you're going to see as a military specification. The other thing that was just a little bit nicer, I think, on the FN 5.7 was the trigger. The trigger on here, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's a nice trigger. You do have a little bit of a take-up. It's got a lot of the Glock feel to the trigger. I have to say that the FN was just a little bit nicer. But that's about where it ends for as far as my preference when it comes to the FN pistol over the Ruger. So now we take a look at this one here. We're going to take a look first at the sights. You have a rear sight that's adjustable for elevation and windage. You can see why there's a screw here. Now, this pistol is also optics ready. You'll see that we have 2 holes that are drilled in here for you to place an optic on here as well. You do also have a loaded chamber indicator, which you'll see right here. You're going to be seeing a photograph that shows what it looks like when it's loaded. You look at the top of the slides, you'll see that we do have a port cut in here, reduction of weight. And when you look at your front sight, you have a fiber optic sight here. As you can see, it's got a greenish color to it. We have front and rear slide serrations. We have a billet steel slide on here. We look at the safety. We're going to see the frame and the safety go a little bit along with the American 1911. You have more of a slimmer grip than that of the FN pistol, and you have a 1911 ambi safety. So you carry it with the same way you would a 1911. Obviously, there's no grip safety. The frame, again, polymer frame. We have 1913 rails, and the magazine is something else that's relatively nice because instead of having a plastic magazine, you have a 20-round steel magazine. On the left-hand side, you'll see we have a very easy-to-get-to slide stop. Disassembly latch, again, the ambi safety on it. Magazine release is also reversible. When you take a look at the magazine, you can see that your engagement notch is on the front instead of the side, so it will go either way. Now, disassembly is very, very simple. We have a disassembling latch lever. We take our tool, we push out, pull out the disassembling latch release lever. Now, you don't pull the slide all the way up, you just partially, and lift it up. Now, looking at the frame, good polymer, very, very well made, very, very simple. As I said, I look at the quality of this Ruger frame. I look at the FN. I don't really see that much of a difference in quality. They're certainly very different in their design, but for as far as the quality is concerned, it looks very, very Very, very similar in quality for half the cost. Now what we have here is a direct blowback system. So we have a recoil spring assembly. We also have a flat recoil spring versus a rocket wire, so it's a much more durable spring. And then we have the barrel. Now looking at the slide, as you can see, the slide is extremely lightweight. You see a lot of material has been removed. That's necessary for this being a blowback operated firearm. So very, very simple, very, very durable, very, very reliable. Reassembly, very simple. We're going to drop our barrel right back into place. Recoil spring. Now putting the slide back on takes a little bit of practice. Going to lock that back to the rear. We're going to insert the subbing latch release lever. Pop it in like so. Lift it up and align it properly. Push it in. And there we have it. So the trigger, again, is quite nice. We're probably looking, I'd say, around... That's probably around 6 pounds. I have to feel it's probably around 6 pounds. And with the safety engaged, instead, if you want to have this as a carry gun, it's a very large carry gun. So I don't know if this would really be the best opportunity for this as a carry concealed gun. But I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take this to the range and we're going to see how it shoots. Now, we fired probably about 200 rounds. This ammunition is not the easiest ammunition to come by. Now, the ammunition that we tested was the Federal American Eagle. Now, the Federal American Eagle, I had done a video where we had the P90, and it was the SMG PW version, and it did not cycle for anything with the American Eagle ammunition. I got called out on that video quite a bit because everybody's saying, well, you used the wrong ammunition. I used what I had access to at the time. And then we had used a couple of the FN ammunitions. The first one was the SS-195LF, which is a lead-free cartridge. And then we had the SS-198LF, which is a military law enforcement only. It's a solid bullet as well, and it does do a lot more damage to body armor. In fact, when Tim did his testing, the two that he tested was the American Eagle. He also used the standard blue box, and those did not penetrate the level 2 body armor. However, the 198 did. So that's what gave the pistol the penetration power. The next round I had is one that I actually find very, very interesting. It's made by Vanguard Outfitters. It's called Black Dragon Fang. Now, this is a machined projectile. As you can see, it comes to a point. Excellent for penetration, reliability, and accuracy. Now, of the 200 rounds that we fired, I only had one malfunction, and it was in the first magazine. Last round, instead of the round feeding into the chamber, the round went straight up. So we had basically a stovepipe with a live round that went up like so, went straight up. Now that only happened once, so I guess that could be very well a fluke. The pistol, for as far as safety is concerned, they have what they refer to as a secure action, unlike Glock's safe action, which works very similar. You can see we have the same little tit in the middle of the trigger like Glock does. So the trigger can't be pulled unless the trigger is pulled, and you have very similar type of a drop safety. It's not a gun that you probably would recommend, carrying in a loaded condition, even with the safety on. Again, I view this as much more of a target type gun than I do as a carry concealed weapon. The best grip we got was 2 inches at 100 yards, actually with the Vanguard Black Dragon Fang. All the grips were around 2.5 inches. For as far as the guns again concerned, if you are looking for a 5.7 by 28 caliber pistol, this is the one. I definitely recommend this over the FN. I believe that it feels much better. It's got a much better feel to it. I believe that it's more robust, utilizing some of the stronger components. Again, accuracy and reliability, I view them as equal. I don't see one being any more accurate or reliable than the other. The FN, if you have a bigger pocketbook and you don't mind spanging it, that's certainly fine. The biggest benefit I see you getting with that is going to be the cold hammer forged barrel. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.